Hello and welcome to the Classroom Connection, the show that takes you inside Marion County Public Schools. I'm your host, Kevin Christian, and coming up on today's show, making history at Vanguard High School by lifting lots of weight, learn who is leaving their mark, and making bullying a thing of the past, learn how one local middle school is blazing new benchmarks with tremendous student buy-in. But first, as we promised last month, we want you to meet Pat Sigmon, Marion County's 2013 School-Related Employee of the Year. She's an ESOL professional at La'Quandre Middle School, making a tremendous difference in the lives of English for speakers of other languages students. Here's Joel Hartley with the story.
La la hiti, amalala, hoo hoo, la la la, hee 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 ha. Okay? Okay? Well, I'm not quite sure if that's what a kindergartner might hear who does not speak English and is going to school for the first time, but I think that might be close.
That's where La'Quandre Middle's Pat Sigmon comes in.
I help the children who are learning English as a second language, only because I was one of them. I was a ESOL kid when there wasn't ESOL, and I know what they're going through and their parents.
She knows, but only to a certain extent.
I started in kindergarten. When you're little, you're not embarrassed, and you capture things like a little sponge. So I really haven't gone through what my students, starting in middle school, went through. I understand them when they're timid and shy, and I tell teachers, have patience with them.
Sigmon's patience with her students runs out eventually.
Right about now, this time of the year. They've been here long enough in the school year where I know they know certain words, certain phrases, they can answer me certain ways. Right now I'm giving the CELA exam, all of us ESOL paras are at the end of the year, and it shows the progression the kids have made in English. And I just know what I've taught them, I know what they know, and I'll tell them, speak to me in English. And I have to be a little bit hard sometimes and embarrass them a little bit or whatever. But otherwise, I wouldn't be doing them any good, benefiting them if I only listened to them in Spanish. And if I'm doing a writing assignment with them, I know what they can write by now in English. And if they try to get away with it in Spanish, nope, fix that word, change that word.
Sigmon's hard on her students, but she really has no choice. For them to pass the FCAT, they have to understand English.
Difficult's an understatement for the FCAT with limited English children. They shouldn't be taking it. Simple as that. I provide them a Spanish-English dictionary, which is their only weapon, if that's the word that can be used for the FCAT. And they become experts at using the Spanish-English or heritage language dictionaries by FCAT time.
Sigmon speaks English and Spanish, but she's had to work with children who spoke other languages, including Vietnamese and Arabic. But it's those students who make the most progress.
When I receive a student here from Vietnam in the 6th grade with limited in English, by the time he's in 8th grade, it's, just enormous the progress they've made. Because they've had to speak English, they have to learn, because no one else speaks their Vietnamese.
Until recently, Sigmon was the only staff member on campus fluent in Spanish, meaning not only does she work with students, she also gets tasked with doing much of the communicating with their parents. That's a pretty full day.
I usually work with the same children, like I said, and I keep an eye on others. I pop in classrooms, and I see what's up on the board for homework or classwork, so I know what's going on. This morning I was called by discipline. I needed to make a phone call home.
Señora, buenos días.
I was called by guidance. I needed to make another phone call. That's my day.
Sí, señora. Bueno, bye-bye.
Pat joins us in our studio now to share more about this entire experience and what she does for our students every day. First of all, Pat, congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell me what it was like, what went through your mind when you learned you were a finalist, and then our winner.
When I learned I was a finalist, I was in shock, literally. And to your second question, just so grateful and honored to think of my other colleagues and, winning this.
Well, obviously, your principal thought enough of you to nominate you. And second of all, the review committee thought enough of you to not only name you as a finalist, but as our 2013 School-Related Employee of the Year. What do you think this does to enhance not just what you do in your profession, but what other ESOL professionals do throughout the district? Obviously, it elevates it, it puts it into the spotlight, but what else, you think?
It'll focus on our ESOL children, to help them, maybe.
What is it that you do?
I help the children who are learning English as a second language, from Spanish speakers, Vietnamese students, I sit with them in class and I help them with their work. I translate at meetings for parents. I make phone calls when teachers can't communicate with parents.
Maybe I should ask what you don't do, because it seems like you do quite a bit. What's been the biggest obstacle? Obviously, language is a huge barrier when you don't speak English, but what about cultural differences? What about perhaps even family differences between the cultures? Any of those play into what you do and how you help students fit into our educational system?
There's a certain shyness sometimes from the kids, and adults don't understand that in their culture it's not proper, correct, respectful sometimes to speak out to adults, and teachers might think the kids are just not being responsive, aren't trying, and there's a certain culture respect thing, obstacle maybe.
So how much does that involve not just helping these ESOL students, but our teachers with years of experience? Because just because a student is quiet, like you said, doesn't mean that they're not grasping the concept. So how do you fit that into what you do? Educating our teachers, if you will.
I try to share with them, at home, this is expected from them. So expect this, work with them. They're not trying to be disrespectful too. I just talk to teachers first.
How many students are we talking about that you have that you help on any given day?
Altogether, I have 28.
Okay, well that's more than a full class.
Within a week, I have to help them, touch base with them at least once. But I work with a little core group of about 7 who are my most limited in English daily.
Now I hear you call your students chicks. I'm going to ask what that means.
It goes back to when I first began. When they arrived at school, I used to check their homework. If they hadn't done their homework, I would sit them down, and they had to do their homework. And one little guy was upset with me, and I overheard him say, "Man, she reminds me of a fat red chick, or fat red hen, pecking at us." He said something, and he doesn't know I heard him, and it stuck in my mind. And I am like a mama hen. I know good and bad about them. I hear everything about them. They're my chicks.
Well, that's a great segue into my next question. I know when you were announced as our district winner that you credited your parents. Tell me about your parents and how much of an impact they not only had on your life, but on how you relate with these students.
I saw from examples from them just how to treat people well. They were wonderful examples. How to understand other folks. Growing up in Miami, you see all types of cultures.
Now, I'm going to ask you to kind of capsulize your approach when you're dealing with students. What is it that maybe your main theme or your main mantra that you try to abide by?
I try daily to accomplish something, teach them, whether it's one or a few words, and I try my hardest. They can do it. They can do it. They can succeed.
And you did it yourself.
Yes.
I've heard you tell that story several times. Final question for you. Your most memorable teaching experience?
There's been many. I think when I see them, I hear about them later on, that they're leading productive lives, whether it's going on to college or now someone's working for JCPenney, she's going up the ladder in JCPenney. Most memorable teaching experience, I can't remember.
That's okay. It's nice to have students come back and thank you for the job that you did. It was your job, but obviously it's so much more than just a job to you, because you make such a difference in our kids. Thank you, Pat. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time here.
Thank you.
Well, these days it seems we constantly hear about bullying, and some people say nothing seems to be done to stop the verbal and physical abuse. To prove the power of words, sometimes students just need to hear it straight from their own peers. And that's exactly what happened at Horizon Academy at Marion Oaks recently. Here's Tom Lauder with that story.
Bullying is still a big problem in our public schools, but one school has decided to be more proactive and do something to change that thought process.
Today's an awesome day at Horizon Academy. It is the culmination of a week-long series of events and activities that we've had. It's our first ever anti-bullying week. We've had an entire week dedicated to learning what bullying means, how we can recognize it, and how we can stop it.
The activities that Horizon have planned for the students go a long way in explaining the downfalls of bullying in ways they understand.
And so we have kicked off the week with an assembly. Our students signed anti-bullying pledges. They have worn string bracelets as a sign of their unity on our campus, that we're standing together against bullying. And then today we had an assembly where we had all the students who were eligible to attend this event, because it's also a PBS event. And all of those students, 646 of them, joined together in our gym. We had students from Westport High School, Denellen High School, Bellevue High School.
Mine's Lorenzo, number 25 right here.
We came and talked to our students about the importance of the big three. Do what's right, do your best, and treat others the way you want to be treated.
Sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? But one of the visiting players that came to speak with the students has some advice from the heart.
Came to talk to the kids and let them know that bullying is just something you want to take into your own hands or want anybody to deal with. So you either go to an adult or you try to talk to somebody, consult, try to figure out, find a solution to the problem, and just look after one another, because we don't want to be divided and split it apart. So.
Some words to live by and then some. But one of Horizon's new 5th graders states in her own words why bullying is bad.
Bullying is bad because when you bully people, it hurts them, it can hurt their feelings, and if it's physical bullying, it can leave a mark.
Bullying is such an epidemic in our nation. It's nice knowing our students in Marion County actually understand at an educated level what and why bullying is something to steer clear of.
But we want our students to know that if we always focus just one day at a time, on doing what's right, on focusing on doing your best, and always treating someone the same way you want to be treated, that we're going to be a family here at Horizon Academy, and they're going to do well from Horizon Academy in the future.
I do believe that the students/football players from Denellen High can wrap up the feeling of the day in some very heartfelt words.
It's a lot better to work with people than against people, Things go a lot smoother. It's like a better atmosphere. It's just like if they can just do it instead of bullying and see the difference, then they'll know how amazing it feels. Like, I just want them to dawn on it, like, we're together, this feels good than being alone and individual. So that's my message.
Because you're building a solid reputation.
Nationwide, about 20% of teenagers have been made fun of by a bully, 18% had rumors spread about them, and 11% were physically abused. Dr. Dama Abshier works with our Student Services Department and particularly with high-risk students. She joins us now to talk about our bullying programs here in Marion County Public Schools and something that we call PBS. Good morning, Dr. Abshier.
Good morning,
Good
Kevin.
to see you. First of all, how closely do these statistics mirror what we experience here in Marion County?
In terms of bullying specifically, I believe we've done a really good job over the past few years of trying to hone in on the definition of what it truly is bullying and helping students understand what bullying consists of, and the right action is to report it and to do something about it to get help.
Certainly a lot of people say it happens everywhere, it happens all the time. I don't know that I agree with all the time, but certainly no school is excluded from bullying.
Absolutely. There really is no school. Oftentimes parents will say, what's the best school? Which school has the least bullying issue? And really it's something where there are people, there will be incidents and opportunities for students to bully one another.
What's the trend with bullying now? Do we see the numbers going up, or do we actually see them going down because we're encouraging more people to speak out?
It's interesting. Some of our schools have had concerns initially looking at their data, because upon the implementation of any type of curriculum or trying to teach students what bullying is, as a result of that, numbers are going to go up. Right. Students identify it and they do something about it, and we're able to actually address it. The counter of that is after a year of those incidents increasing, oftentimes we see that they do then decrease as a result of those good practices that are put into place.
At what point does what many people call a rite of passage cross the line and become abuse or bullying?
I believe personally and professionally, anytime someone else is made to feel bad about themselves or to feel victimized in that situation, that is completely out of line and inappropriate and not a rite of passage for anyone.
You know, I've heard people say through the years, well, I had to go through it as a teenager. Well, we all probably had some level of that, but certainly there are some kids today and some kids back then who experienced far more than most kids do. What are the penalties or the punishment for bullying in our school district?
In our district, we do take that very seriously. It's not acceptable. It's not appropriate. It's not something that we excuse or say it's okay. It's, you know, something students go through. We do have within the code of conduct bullying. There are levels of bullying, so we do understand that maybe the first time something is considered bullying, it needs to be addressed. Students need to be educated on that, but there are a continuum of consequences, and that could range, you know, from something minor to a major out-of-school suspension. We do have a bullying contract, and once a student is identified and placed on that contract, they sign it, the parents sign it, and we also have school resource officers on campuses that can sign that contract. If a student violates the contract, they may be alternatively placed and put into one of our contracted programs off the regular school campus.
So we're talking suspension and alternative placement in many cases. What about expulsion?
That would be on a rare occasion. We have not actually expelled for bullying at this point, not because we don't take that very seriously. We just have not had a situation rise to the level that they didn't curtail.
And you have programs in place that that hopefully prevent it from reaching that level. One program, PBS.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What is PBS?
PBS stands for Positive Behavior Support, and that is really a tier-wide program. It's more than a program. It's really a framework to allow the school to teach students and staff expectations for appropriate behavior. The result of that is often a climate change, a cultural change on campus. We've seen many of our schools have really an overnight change just in teaching the expectations, what will and will not be tolerated on a campus. And that's what we would consider a Tier 1 strategy where all students are taught behavioral expectations.
Have you found that once students know the expectations that they accept those expectations and live up to those expectations?
They do. I think it's natural for students and really for anyone to test the limits, but once they know where the boundaries are and they know what's expected, it's a little easier for them to meet our expectations.
Final question for you. What can our community do to help with all of this?
That's a great question. Our schools really need partnership and collaboration with parents and community, business partners, folks that can chip in and help. It would be important to get involved at the school level as a volunteer or as a business owner that could come in and help sponsor events. Often with positive behavior support, there are opportunities for recognizing students for doing the right thing. And many of our schools have great programs where it would be very helpful to have people, resources, you know, that could be time or money, but it's very powerful program, and we've seen excellent results in our county with overall a decrease in our office discipline referrals.
Thank you for that good news, and thank you for sharing the information with us today. We appreciate what you do and how you and your staff do it.
All right, thank you very much.
It takes a lot of strength and courage to speak out against bullying, but it also takes a lot of strength and courage to make state history in weightlifting. That's right. By the time this month is over, Marion County may be home to the strongest boy and girl in Florida. Once again, here's Joe Hartley to explain.
A few years ago, North Marion's La'Quandre Johnson set the state record for bench press, clean and jerk, and total weight in girls weightlifting, records previously held by Westport's Latavia Bagley. Now, Vanguard's La'Quandre Kinsler is within just a few pounds of the boys' records in bench and total weight.
My clean and jerk and my bench, I think the total record in state is 820, I think. And I think I had got a 810 total already before, so I'm trying to beat that one too.
But on the bench, he doesn't want to just break the record of 510 pounds. He wants to shatter it.
My goal is I want to get something that no one else can beat. So I want to get like probably 550 or 560 or something.
Like most weightlifters, he got started because the sport goes hand in hand with playing football.
It was something extra. My brother told me about it before I came to high school, and he said it's after football season, you really don't have nothing to do. So, say join the weightlifting team. He said it's like plenty fun, so I joined it.
But the way you lift for the two sports is very different.
Lifting weight for football, you really don't lift a lot. Like you don't try to overdo it. You just try to, keep your muscles, built so you can go on the field and thrive.
Now he's transitioned to building strength, one day at a time.
Usually on Monday, I try to max out if I can and see where I'm at the rest of the week. That Monday determines how hard I push myself the rest of the week.
It's been just dedicated to the weight room. You dedicate yourself to the weight room. Fortunately, you'll get something back from it, and that's strength and power. And 500 pounds, I could tell you when the kid started, he said 300, but I can tell you the start weight was 275.
So, which is his favorite sport?
Weightlifting. Why? It's more of a, you have a team, but there's more of a, it's kind of like individual. I get more success as an individual in weightlifting than I do in football.
Lifting as much as he does, Kinsler spends most of a meet waiting for his 3 attempts.
It's kind of hard if you're just sitting there watching, but I try to, stay active and walk around and stuff. So, and I have, the rest of the team in here. I watch them, clap for them, have them motivated so they can get all their lifts too. So I still I be in the game all times.
Just a few pounds from the records, Kinsler wants his name posted for a different reason.
It's important, but the state championship way more important because, your name goes up and, on the board and it never comes down. So I think that's more important.
It's easy for it to go go up and come. It can come down. Anybody can go behind him and break it. But his goal is that he want to get it up there and gold here at Vanguard High School. And that record never comes down. That's something that stays up for a lifetime.
And now we turn to Mr. George Tomlin, who has valuable information to share in this month's Superintendent Spotlight.
I'm standing here in front of the Thelma Parker Center, home of the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. There's always a good time to give a good plug for that great organization and the great support that they give to all of our schools through sponsorships, through partnerships, through the great Take Stock in Children mentor program that we use. We thank the Public Education for all they do for our students and for the entire school system here in Marion County. April, as you know, is testing season, or begins a testing season here in Marion County. FCAT will be given to all of our students, grades 3 through 11, between April 15th and April 26th. And then we don't waste any time because we jump into end-of-course exams during the month of May, and most of our secondary students will be taking end-of-course exams. We're also very encouraged to hear from our legislators and our governor's leadership team in the state capitol that we see a renewed interest in increasing revenue for all of our public schools here across the state, and not only just here in Marion County. We're encouraged about the words that we hear about increased revenue. We know our teachers, we know our school system needs additional revenue, and we are very excited about that prospect. We'll have more for you about that as the legislature closes out its session in May, and we'll be back to you at that time. At the district level, our focus has been on creating the appropriate staffing plan that all of our schools will use and our district will use as we assign the appropriate resources to our schools to help ensure that your children receive the best education possible and that we maximize efficiencies for our taxpayers and provide the absolute best education for all here at the Marion County Public Schools.
Thanks, Mr. Tomlin. And to piggyback on his thoughts, a warning to students and parents this FCAT season. Remember, leave your cell phones at home. A new state rule invalidates the test of any student who has access to technology during the testing process, even during breaks and lunch. So that's certainly good information to know. Thank you for joining us here today on Classroom Connection. We hope to see you again next month. But until then, parents, remember, be there for your child every day.